And we're back with Peter Shurman, not your usual talking head. He's not a talking head. Instead of the party people out here talking about the issues in this election and what's going on with this election, he is a thoughtful, articulate, former media person, former politician who is saying right now that you're saying the Conservatives need to win for the future of Canada.
I believe that that's true.
So then what about the Liberals? You read this now, the Liberals are sort of mimicking what the Tories are saying. Oh, Carney is saying, well, we'll have energy, no pipelines, but we're going to let energy go.
Well, it's not unusual for parties to copy other parties. The fact of the matter is, Poilievre, for all of the criticism he takes for having been long in the tooth where Parliament is concerned, has learned what Parliament's about, has learned how to read the feelings and the voice of the people, has learned how to read Canada, has been to every part of it, how many times I couldn't say, and he knows what we need.
I want to pick up on that, though, when you talk about Parliament, because so often people are saying, well, you know, Poilievre, he's only been in Parliament. He doesn't know anything that's going on. And others are saying, well, Carney, he's been around the world, to which I have responded in the past. Well, we aren't electing a president. We're electing, a prime minister who is the head of the biggest party in Parliament, and you have to work with Parliament. We don't have a dictatorship. We have a parliamentary democracy.
I will make it a lot simpler than that. If you say, as many people have said, now we can vote Liberal because Carney is a real businessman. He's been governor of the Bank of Canada, governor of the Bank of England. He's a very smart guy. I'm not going to take that away. But that's like saying we should elect this guy Justin Trudeau because he's really good looking and look what last name he's got. How'd that work out for you? So the bottom line here is I have read Carney's book. I have paid a lot of attention to him. I don't for a moment take away from the man's intellect, but I don't think he knows anything about how to run a government.
Tell me about his book.
His book, I've just finished Values. And the first part of it is a real hard read because he talks for a long period of time about his own life and thoughts that he has that are not particularly germane to the job at hand. But when you get into the last half of the book and he gets into his involvement with places like the World Economic Forum and his absolute belief that net zero is essential in terms of emissions by 2050, you start to get scared because we're doing fine as Canada with 2%. We account for 2% of the carbon that gets into the atmosphere in the world. He wants us to close up the holes in Alberta and not mine oil anymore or dig for oil anymore. He doesn't want us to look for natural gas. He doesn't want to open the mountaintop in northwestern Ontario called the Ring of Fire because he doesn't want to pollute the atmosphere. Noble goals. But the bottom line is if we're responsible for 2% and we live in a world that contains Russia and the United States of America and India and China, none of which signed on to the Paris Accords owing to their unwillingness to not tap their riches, that it's impossible to consider making a difference at all.
So, Peter, why has Carney been ahead in the polls when he is leading a government now? The same ministers in cabinet who were in the Trudeau cabinet, who were there for the last 10 years, who had these policies that most Canadians have been worried about. I mean, I know people who couldn't afford their groceries because the economy is so flat. Our productivity is so flat. No one invests in Canada anymore because the government has so many bureaucracies around. It's hard to do anything. So these are the same people, but for Carney, why are so many Canadians, according to the pollsters, you can take issue with that if you want, supporting this?
I could say simply I don't know, but I actually think...
No, don't say that.
I think I do.
Good.
I think I do.
That's why you're here. You have the answers.
I think that people were so disgusted with what had happened. The fact that families with everybody working to their utmost, sometimes multiple jobs, still having to drive up to food banks and get something to feed their kids with, said there is no bloody way that I am going to vote for that bastard Trudeau one more time. I'm just not going to do it.
That's why Poilievre was ahead in the polls.
That's how Poilievre got 22-point lead.
Right.
Now Trudeau goes away and anybody steps in the person of Mark Carney. People read Mark Carney was this, Mark Carney was that, but Mark Carney is on top of the world when it comes to being an economist, and I don't take any of that away from him. But have you been a leader? Have you ever been elected by a jury of your peers? And I don't think when I take a look at how Carney behaves that he even believes he has any peers. But we're going to vote for him because he's not Trudeau. That's a real problem.
So are you saying that many Canadians are wrong-headed about this?
I think a lot of Canadians are wrong-headed about it. They bought the talking heads on CTV and CBC and Global and so forth and said, you know what? Now we have somebody to vote for, so we don't have to sit on the sidelines. We're going to vote for Carney because he sounds great.
We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to be with Peter Shurman again. Definitely not a talking head.